What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It's time to continue our 2023 college football schedule previews / projected records for the upcoming 2023 college football season. And we continue them with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Here was a schedule last year for the 2022 season for this Ohio State team. You see the overall record for this Ohio State team ended up being 11-2 overall. 11-1 in the regular season. They missed out on the Big Ten championship game once again, losing that last game to Michigan in the last game of the regular season. And you look at who they played in the non-conference. They played Notre Dame, which turned out to be a tough game, but they ended up winning that one in the end of the day. And that was a Notre Dame team that got better down the stretch from last year. And they also played Arkansas State and Toledo on the schedule in back-to-back non-conference games. So, yeah, overall, the non-conference schedule not too tough for Ohio State last year. I mean, they got two easy cupcake wins there against two cupcake teams out of the Sun Belt, and also Toledo, a team that, wasn't even that close to beating them as well. So, but yeah, Notre Dame was pretty much the toughest non-conference schedule for Ohio State last year. And also, if you look at who Ohio State played out of the Big Ten West, they played Wisconsin at home, they played Iowa at home, and they played Northwestern on the road. Wisconsin turned out to just be a decent team last year. They have a new coach coming in. Iowa turned out to be just sluggish on offense, but they still won their bowl game. And then Northwestern, they were one of the worst Big Ten teams from last year. So, yeah, they didn't really have a tough draw out of the Big Ten West. So, yeah, we'll see what the 2023 Big Ten West schedule will look like for those Ohio State teams. So, yeah, an 11-2 overall record last year for this Ohio State team, losing to Georgia in the semifinal matchup. And this is a team that almost made it to the national championship. Could it be a chance to make it to the national title game and also a chance to make it to the Big Ten championship game once again? They have not been there now in the last 2 years. And here's the schedule for 2023 for Ohio State. You look at who they play in the non-conference. They play Youngstown State. That game will go on September the 9th, and then Western Kentucky here on September the 16th. And they'll play Notre Dame this time on the road. That is going to be a tough game right there. I mean, what a non-conference game that will be. It's a rematch from last year. This time it will be on the last weekend, or close to the last weekend of September, I should say. That will be an interesting game there. You look at who they play in the Big Ten West as well. They will play Purdue on the road. Then they'll play Wisconsin on the road as well. And then they'll play Minnesota at home. So they get two of their Big Ten West games on the road against, the runner-ups from last year in the Big Ten Championship, the Purdue Boilermakers. And then they'll play Wisconsin, a Wisconsin team that will have Luke Fickell coming in as the new head coach. It could be an interesting game. And then they'll play Minnesota. Minnesota was a decent team last year. The good news is they get that game at home. So, yeah, not too tough of a draw once again out of the Big Ten West. I mean, Wisconsin, they usually play them every year, so it's not like it's a terrible draw. Like the Big Ten West overall last year was pretty weak. We don't really know who's going to be that best team this year because Purdue has a new head coach as well, so there's going to be a lot of changes to the Big Ten West next year. So let's go game by game here. Ohio State will play Indiana to begin out the year on September the 2nd. An Indiana team that wasn't good last year, but maybe they could be better this season. You never know. But like I said, when we do these projections, it's just based off of how the teams were last year. We'll get to that in just a minute. Then they'll play Youngstown State on September the 9th, Western Kentucky on September 16th. So you get two easy non-conference games there after that Indiana game on the road. Then they'll play Notre Dame here on September the 23rd. So it's going to be a pretty tough matchup right here for this Ohio State team on the road on September the 23rd against Notre Dame. And they'll get a bye week after this game. I'm pretty sure they wanted a bye week before playing this Notre Dame team on the road. And like I said, we don't really know about the teams as well until we get into the month of October. And they'll get to the month of October here after a bye week over Notre Dame. They'll play Maryland here at home. They'll play Purdue on the road. That could be a pretty interesting matchup here. We've seen Purdue beat Ohio State at home one day, but, I don't think it's going to be the case this season. Ohio State probably should be better by this time. And they'll get Penn State at home, a Penn State team that has a lot of confidence coming into the 2023 season. The thing is, though, Ohio State is at home playing this game, so it will be pretty much, home field advantage for this Ohio State team. And they'll get Wisconsin on the road. A Wisconsin team, just like I mentioned, is going to have a new head coach with Luke Fickell coming in. Maybe he changes that program around. And Wisconsin can probably compete in this game. You never know. They could probably compete. And in the month of November, they'll play the Rutgers on the road. And they'll play Michigan State, a Michigan State team. Hopefully that's going to be better than they were last year. And then they'll play Minnesota, a team that was decent. I just mentioned that. And then they'll end things out once again on the road at Michigan. A rival game there that could just go either way. We did Michigan's projection yesterday, so you'll probably see the same kind of projection that they had. Pretty much, if you want to go back and watch that Michigan video, you can go back and watch it if you want to. And the reason why we're doing Ohio State as well pretty early is because we don't really know what TCU's schedule looks like just yet, because the Big 12, ACC, and Pac-12 schedules haven't come out. But we're just starting with the Big 10 and the SEC. So that's the schedule for 2023 for Ohio State. Now let's give you a projected record for this team. And like I said, this is not my official prediction. This is simply a projection based on that schedule. And this is the scale I have used so far in the couple of projections that I've done. If it's a 1% game, Ohio State will be pretty much not having a chance in this one. But you're not going to see any games on here that Ohio State will be an underdog in. Pretty much, all their games will be favored in. We know Ohio State's going to be favored in all their games. 20%, these are games where Ohio State will be about a couple touchdown underdog. 40% games will be in the yellow. These will be about a touchdown underdog. 50%, those will stay in the white. Those are games where I think that can go either way. 60%, these will be games where Ohio State's favored by about a touchdown. 80%, couple touchdowns, and then 90% more than 3 touchdowns. So we'll start with the green games, and these will be games where I think Ohio State will be big favorites going in to all these games. And I just got 3 of those games. I got Youngstown State, Western Kentucky, and the Rutgers. Now, Indiana probably could have been a green game because they weren't good last year, but it's really going to be a game that I think could be a really tough test for Ohio State. But let's talk about the green games. Youngstown State and Western Kentucky are easy cupcake games. And the Rutgers, I don't really know what the roster is going to look like for this team, because like I said, we don't really know about these rosters just yet until we probably get into the month of May. That's why we do these early projections as well. And this is my first time doing these projections, so like I said, I don't really know about the rosters just yet for, the Rutgers as well. So, and we don't know what the rosters are going to look like throughout the Big Ten as well either. So, but those are my 90% games. I think Ohio State will be easy wins here. The Rutgers probably will just be at 90%, but Ohio State should be favorite going into all 3 of these games. How about the blue games now? Games where I think Ohio State will be favored by about a couple touchdowns. It's almost the majority of their schedule here. I got 5 of them on this schedule. I got Indiana on the road, Maryland at home, Purdue on the road, Michigan State and Minnesota at home. So Indiana, like I said, it was going to be close to putting in the green, but I think this will be pretty much a tough test to begin out the year for this Ohio State team. An Indiana team that's probably hungry to have a better season. Like I said, they pretty much did not have a great season at all last year. And also Maryland, they're a team that was decent last year. I know it's a home game. Pretty much, if this game was probably on the road, I would probably put it in the 60% range. But I think Maryland is still a pretty good team out of the Big Ten East. You probably don't want to sleep on them this season as well. Purdue, another game that I probably could have put it at 60%, but like I said, Purdue's going to have a new head coach. There's no telling what Purdue's going to look like either. So, and Purdue does have a pretty tough schedule this year. We'll get to Purdue's schedule probably later on when we do these projections. But yeah, other than that, we don't really know what Purdue's going to look like. And then Michigan State and Minnesota, both home games here. I think pretty much, there'll be a couple touchdown favorites in both of these games. And like I said, these are pretty much just based off of how the teams played last year. And overall, their records were not really good either. So Michigan State, Michigan State's record wasn't that good. That's why I have to put it in the couple touchdown category. And then also for Minnesota, I have to put it in the couple touchdowns. But, I know Minnesota was a decent team last year, but Ohio State's at home, so I got to just put this one as a couple touchdown favorite. So now we move on to the 60% games. These will be games where I think Ohio State will just be favored by about a touchdown. So, and I got these games. I only got 2 of them on the schedule. That's Penn State and Wisconsin on the road. Now, Penn State was a tough one for me. I probably could have put this one in the 50-50 range, but with Ohio State being at home, it's a tough place to play in Columbia. and I think, Ohio State will be favorites. Penn State will lose kind of like a production a little bit, but I think they'll still be overall pretty good enough to compete in this game. I'm not saying Ohio State's going to really struggle in this game, but, I think it will be kind of close throughout the whole way. It's a touchdown win, though, I believe, for Ohio State at the end of the day. And then Wisconsin on the road. I probably could have put this one in the blue as well because they have a new head coach, but I'm going to say that Wisconsin could probably compete in this game. You never know what can happen with a new head coach. They could start to get better down the stretch, and it's a tough place to play as well. Wisconsin on the road is a tough place to play, and I think from where Ohio State was last year when they went on the road to play all these tough games, I think they pretty much, kind of struggled in them, but I think this will be a 60% game here for Ohio State. Now, the final two games here, Notre Dame and Michigan, I think are both 50-50 games, and they're both on the road, which is going to be really tough. So, yeah, this will be a tough road test here for both of these games for Ohio State. And overall, the schedule, they have a really tough road games, like including Notre Dame and Michigan. And then, of course, you got Wisconsin on the road, so that's a potential loss. But I think both of these games, Notre Dame and Michigan, are both 50-50 games. So, pretty much, I don't have any Ohio State, I don't really have any underdog games for Ohio State. I really don't see being them an underdog. Because also when you project against these best teams in each conference, it's hard to project against them when they are favorites in each of their games. But Notre Dame and Michigan are 50-50 games for me. I think these games can go either way. I don't think Notre Dame pretty much had a big shot. Maybe they have a better shot this year to beat Ohio State. And Michigan, obviously, to end out the year is going to be tough. So the overall projected record for this Ohio State team, let's now give them a projection. So if you look at all the games that they're favored in and also the games that they are pretty much, 50-50 games with those couple touchdowns and also the touchdown games and the green games and the 50% games, if you pretty much, look at the schedule, the games that they're favored in, the overall projected record for this Ohio State team comes out to be 11-1 for 2023. I do really see them losing somewhere on that schedule. When you look at these 50-50 games, they could probably win just one out of those two games. Maybe they beat Notre Dame, maybe they lose to Michigan. But what if they lose to Notre Dame and then also beat Michigan at the end of the day? Maybe they win both games. They can go 12-0 perhaps. I think worst case scenario for this Ohio State team would be 10-2. I think, mid-case scenario, just like I projected it, would be 11-1. And then best-case scenario will probably be 12-0 for this Ohio State team. So, yeah, like I said, I think both of those games on the road between Notre Dame and Michigan are 50-50 games, and pretty much that's how the projected record came out. I really do see them losing one game on that schedule. Perhaps it's Notre Dame, and they probably lose to Michigan. But, maybe they lose to Michigan, maybe they beat Notre Dame, and they also probably lose to Notre Dame or beat Michigan. So they can win any of those games. I say they win one out of those two games on the schedule. But that's my projected record for this Ohio State team. Let me guys know what you think about this projected record for Ohio State, and what do you think their projected record will be, and what games they'll be favored in. Also give you percentages out, and we'll continue to do these projected records throughout this week. And stay tuned for more sports content right here on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.